The Yushukan WWII Museum is a controversial museum close to the also controversial Yasukuni Shrine, which is owned by an ultra-nationalist company that owns this museum, and they have been enshrining war criminals until so late as the 1980s. Yasukuni Shrine has 2.5 million war dead enshrined from the Meiji era until 1935. The problems with this shrine starts around the 1931 mark, when they start to enshrine war criminals and other people from other countries that were forced into the military by Japan. But is Yasukuni the real problem here, because the shrine is always getting more attention from the media and the museum is simply overlooked? When you enter the museum's main hall, you're greeted by an impressive A6 M0 and some artillery guns. And this part of the museum is free to visit, and if you pretty much have no interest in what this museum brings to the table, I would recommend that you don't spend any money on a ticket. Another thing that will catch your eye is the C5 locomotive on the Thai-Burma Railway, also known as the Death Railway. A sign states nothing about the hundreds and thousands of workers worked to death by the Japanese army, and it's simply shrugged off as a memorial to the brave men that operated the train. After you get your ticket, of course from a vending machine, you will enter in a sort of memorial and glorification of the samurai age and the Japanese imperial time period. Of course, I have to give credit with credit's due, because the Meiji period and the Russo-Japanese War section is a really interesting section and probably worth the ticket. Because it's part of history you will never get to see again, and if you're interested in this time period, it's truly an interesting walkthrough that's probably free from any biased viewpoints. It's interesting to see the point of view of the Japanese standpoint, because history is written by the victors. But this museum is controlled by a biased political company and pretty much distorts history and doesn't show any of the war crimes the Japanese committed and simply lies about everything. This will make you have question marks with everything you read in this museum. Whether or not one agrees with said political views, you have to think about the young people this is shown to and read up on the wrong history. Of course, you're not allowed to film in most parts of the museum, and that's probably because of the ridiculous statements and viewpoints this museum has. If you want to believe this museum, Japan was forced into World War II by America, and their excuse for the invasion of other Asian countries is that Japan was trying to be a liberator of Asia against the Western countries like the Netherlands. Yes, the Netherlands is mentioned a lot. And of course the war started because the West simply starved the country of resources. And if you're looking for anything on the Nanking Massacre, it's pretty much mentioned in a really small inappropriate section with Japanese war propaganda blaring in the background. Of course nothing is said of the hundreds and thousands of murdered and raped Chinese women and children. Because fuck that shit, that was just an incident. After this you will enter the big hall where there will be some interesting planes and vehicles on display, like the Okai suicide bomb and the Kai-10 suicide submarine. They also have a really nicely restored jihad tank on display. After you exit the big hall, you will enter into the memorial hall for the kamikaze pilots, where you can view several goodbye letters to their families and loved ones. Narrative shoved down your throat, because Japan did nothing wrong and their actions were either necessary and they entered the war for the good of all of Asia as liberators. So this museum is just a patriotic circus that's owned by people that have a huge grudge in what happened to the country afterward, and this museum is a reflection of an annoying little child that wants their opinion heard. But it's not a reflection of the country, and for most people this museum is just an oddity, and many Japanese know this, but it's still a really bad reflection as a war memorial, and the whitewashing of history is not a way to honor your dead. Even though this museum is seen as a weird oddity, it still has a good rating on Google and sites like TripAdvisor. Where Yasukuni Shrine is known for its nastiness, the real problem is overlooked, and people should really focus more on this museum and give it more of a bad rep. This museum sucks big monkey balls and rocket ship and post.